Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the A2B podcast, your number one source for military entrepreneurship and entertainment, guys. Another episode, and Barry's not here with me, guys. He did want me to put in a good word for you guys. Make sure that you guys understand and know that this episode is brought to you guys by no other than Bull Fitness and Ramos Capital. Make sure that you guys reach out to us because we are the sole sponsors of the A2B podcast. We make it happen. Make sure that you guys reach out to Barry if you guys are looking for information on anything that he does, and you guys reach out to me if you guys are looking for any type of real estate related information. Moving on, diving right back in, we're here with Brandon Evans, guys. He is a Marine Infantry veteran. And on the first part of the podcast, which you guys can see anywhere up here, we were talking about, his time in boot camp. How was it that he ended up getting a infantry contract, infantry squad leaders contract with the $5,000 bonus, which when we did the math is really like $2 extra a day. But anyways, it's better than not getting anything. And we went over that experience, that first, month experience of what it really means to be in an infantry battalion. Now we have a very intriguing podcast ahead because within 4 months, brother,
give or take, yeah,
you were on deployment.
Yep. So we were scheduled for a MEU in about a year and a half, which is the normal lifespan as a PFC.
Yeah.
In the Marine Corps, at least at the time, was, you do about a year and a half workup, you go on deployment, you come train, you might re-enlist, you may not make quite the window. So yeah, and then, rumors or, they all start somewhere, and all of a sudden.
Lance Corporal Underground.
Yeah, the Lance Corporal Underground. That's my roommate. He didn't get out, but he came in one day and he goes, "You might be going to Syria." And I was like, He goes, "They are doing a special purpose MAGTAV with 110. And they need an infantry company, and it's between 1.6 and 2.63. I think all the 6 Marines or whoever it was at the time." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And very quickly, word spreads fast, especially word like that. Mm-hmm. And I remember our first sergeant came out, and he was like, "Listen, don't believe any of that. Yes, we are under." Possibility, but you need to train just like how you normally do, but for the MEU. Don't call people and tell people you're going to Syria, this, that, and the other. And then 2 weeks later, I'm in this class and it was like, Syria and like the whole. So they're like, "Yeah, we're going." And that was a surreal moment because there's a lot of people who talk about, especially in the early 2000s, of going ITB and they going straight to Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. So to me, I was like, holy crap, I'm kind of getting that experience with just a little bit of training. You know what I mean? So yeah. Our workup, we did about a 10, 12-day workup, and that was going over FOB life. So we did the whole support, security, and like the assault, whatever. And then we did like 3 days in the defense, and then we just shot machine guns, Mark 19s for like a day or two, and that was it. That they sent us on our pre-deployment leave, and then we came back and we rocked and rolled.
Okay, and where did that workup at? Was it in the East Coast, or was it in?
Yeah, it was very Jimmy rigged. It was a very Jimmy rigged. They were like, we don't even know. Like, now looking back, they're probably like, how the hell do we prepare a company to do a combat deployment?
Yeah, because Marines are always ready, and that's the slogan for the Marine Corps. Like at any point, what the commandant wants is at any point he can just spin the wheel and be like, "Oh, great, this company, you're doing it," And,
absolutely.
And that's what it was, right? Yeah, you guys did the workup, but in reality, you guys should already been prepared.
And you know what? I want to give a special shout out to, he's a gunny now, but Staff Sergeant Dunham. He was an amazing platoon sergeant, and I felt like our platoon, I'm obviously the whole company did awesome on the deployment, but Staff Sergeant Dunham really held 3rd platoon together, and that culture, because we talk about culture a lot and what culture means, but when you have that culture of you're deploying now and you're going to be ready, that's a real thing, and that's a real thing that I hope every unit, not even just infantry, upholds, because you just don't know. You really don't. Like, I thought I was going to be in a MEU in a year and a half and whatever, but 2 weeks later, getting on the bus to go to Kuwait.
How did you feel? Do you remember those feelings when they finally told you and the moment really sank in of damn, I'm going to Syria.
There was a lot of people. They had to trim the fat because we were going as a special purpose MAGTAV. So I think we went 3 squads, 2 teams each. So I think we cut down a fire team from each squad, and there were people who didn't want to go. And honestly, that kind of like hit me in the gut because I'm like, wow, like I knew we were on the tail end, and I was like, this is probably the only opportunity we'll have.
Yeah.
Possibly. I mean, you obviously never know, but I was excited. I was like, I'm going to go do my job. That is, because people always talk about the infantry and like, all these other jobs. You do your job every day if you're supply. You do your job every day when you're admin. You do your job every day if you're in the band. In the infantry, you're practicing to do your job.
Yeah.
And so until you go on deployment or you're doing something, whatever, you're just practicing. You're not going into the game.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, wow, I want to get game time reps. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
I was very excited.
Yeah. I want to understand who the fuck goes into the infantry and doesn't want to go on a deployment.
That's a good question. You'd be surprised. I think a lot of people, and I shouldn't say a lot, it's probably a very small percentage, but like, the old saying is like, everyone wants to be a grunt until it's time to do grunt shit.
Yeah.
And, I guess when you get told that you're deploying in 2 weeks, because they brought us in there, they said, do you want to deploy? Yes or no? Yep. Get the fuck out. You're going. And that was mind boggling to me because there was people who wanted to PCS because they wanted to go to 2-6 to go on the MEU that was going sooner because they were going to, I forgot which MEU they were going to do, but it was apparently a better one. They were trying to get orders back because they wanted to. So it was crazy because like all these people were leaving because they want to go on a cooler deployment. They found out we were going to Syria. So they're like, oh crap, we want to go back. And then you have people who were going on the deployment who said they didn't want to.
As an infantryman, which one's a cooler deployment for you, a MEU or a combat deployment?
Oh, a combat deployment. I mean, combat deployment, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, even though you don't see combat, would it still be considered a combat deployment?
Yes,
because you're
yes, I did not receive a car. I did not get in active combat, but it is considered a combat deployment. So for all the people who are going to try and get me in the comment section, did not see combat, went on a combat deployment.
Okay.
But the mindset's still the same.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Especially when you're there because you don't know if you're going to get contact.
Exactly.
We're rolling through cities. You're doing your 5s and 25s on IEDs. You're checking these truckers coming through that you don't know what they have.
Yeah.
And so yeah. In hindsight, obviously I didn't. But at the time, I mean, dude, that's as obviously it was as real as it get.
Yeah, of course. You don't look at it and it's like, oh man, it's gonna be easy.
And people don't realize that because they think a car distinguishes good service sometimes.
Yeah.
And to me, like we were in the defense. We were in support of 110 firing rounds at Raqqa. We were in the defense. We were logistical support, security. And so, a lot of my peer group, they kind of came back with this, not depression, but like some of them were like, dang, dude, I didn't do anything. And I'm like, dude, you got to realize defense isn't sexy, but like you signed a paper and rose your hand and said, I solemnly swear to defend the Constitution from all threats, foreign and domestic. You went out and did that, dog. Like you went out there and did something. It wasn't a UDP. It wasn't a MEU. It wasn't, DFT for deployment for training, going like on a little 2-month thing to Europe. You went there. That's the most you could ask for. It sucks that no one shot at us because, I mean, I'm very thankful. And, a lot of my friends are like, oh, I wish we got into combat. I would much rather see all my friends come home. Yeah. At the time, yes. Looking back, not so much. I'm very happy, but I'm happy I did what I did because I felt like I was part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, you 100% were. So how was that transition as an infantry? What rank were you when you went there?
Lance Corporal.
Okay, so you were a Lance Corporal. First day in country. What are you thinking?
In Kuwait or like actual in Syria?
Nah, I mean Kuwait. That's debatable.
Well, yeah, because Kuwait's
debatable.
Kuwait was awesome though because I was in Camp Buehring.
Yeah, Buehring.
And so we went to the
Well, Buehring is not awesome.
Oh no!
Let me tell you something.
No.
There's way better ones.
I mean, I've been to Buehring and Ali Saleen, I believe.
Ali Saleen, that's the shit right there. That's the Air Force Base. Yeah.
No, listen, I'm telling you, going from East Coast Chow Hall, and we went there, and they were like, because on the East Coast, you ask for a hamburger, that you get the patty or the bun. You know what I mean? You don't get both. We went to Buehring, and we were like, can I get the burger? You want the hot dog, grilled cheese, and wings too? I can get more? They're like,
Yeah,
hell
yeah.
yeah. They fill your plate up.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this is awesome.
And Ali Salim is way better too.
Oh yeah, we had crab legs when we went there, of course. Steak and crab legs. It was awesome.
Hey, shout out to the Air Force and the Army, guys.
They know how to treat you right.
Yeah.
But no, my first day in country, we flew in the middle of the night into Syria. We got on these. We walked pitch black and tents. We loaded up our ammo. And the next morning, the morning after, I think we spent only 1 or 2 days there at this small little fob. Then we went on this really long ride. And, we're going through villages. We're going through like these little, farms or whatever. You see these, you see like the firsthand, what the Middle East is like. The good and the bad. Because we passed by some nice spots and then we passed by some, you see those refugee camps on CNN and, I saw those, firsthand, and it's a real eye-opening experience because I grew up very poor in the very early years of my life. Then my dad was very fortunate to get a good job. So I grew up very middle class. I never had to miss a meal. I never had to figure out what it's like to like sleep with no AC or lights minus a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
So going there was very humbling. And a lot of people have their opinions on the Middle East and if we should be there, if we shouldn't. All I'm going to say is if you just go there, your experience changes. And rather, obviously everyone has different experiences when they go there, but everything that I thought beforehand went out the window. And we got to the base, we got situated, we did the changeover, those guys left, and then immediately we're on post. And we're just doing security. I mean, we'll have guys who are on the different posts on the fob, and then you have guys who go out to the gate, and then you have guys who go check the truckers, make sure they
So you're doing like VPC type stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then you have guys who are on QRF, and then they do patrols around the fob and everything.
Okay, and so I'm guessing it was 110, which was an artillery battery.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys providing security for them, correct?
Yeah, so we were split up. One platoon went to the actual artillery line, and those guys were living in the dirt. Like those guys were foxhole sleeping in the trucks. We were thankful we had like, chlorine showers and, we were on the fob providing logistical support for the artillery. So we were kind of split up.
Yeah, artillery. Some people. Let me ask you this: after seeing that, did your respect for artillery men go up?
My best friend, who I went and did the buddy program with, he went to 111, and so
Let's go 111.
I have respect for every branch. I know I left a comment this before. I said every job's tough in its own. I can never be admin. You know what I mean? I can never be supply. I respect artillery guys too because I mean, you want to talk about like life and death. Like for me as a grunt, like I have my rifle and I know what I'm shooting. I couldn't imagine having to get the right coordinates for something that's like 10 miles down the road. Because if you mess up one number, that could be blue on blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the margin of error for artillery, is pretty wide. And I respect those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And not only that, man, you guys also got to think about it. It's the same thing for us. You have a stick round. A stick round is when the round doesn't go off, but you don't know where that round is in the chamber. And if it passes a certain amount of revolutions, the fuse gets activated. Mm-hmm. And if it's a PD fuse, a PD is point detonating fuse, and you all of a sudden have to hit it out.
Yeah.
That shit happened to me. That shit happened to us.
Really?
For a deployment training. Yeah, dude, we were scared shitless. Yeah. And the thing is, like, how it happened, you hear like a huge hissing sound. Mm-hmm. It's like
kind of like the audible pop.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because no, it's not like an audible pop. Because it's not like an audible pop, because an audible pop, like you hear it, like you know something happened.
Yeah.
With the round, you don't know what the fuck happened. Mm-hmm. So it's like, dude. Next thing I know, I hear the battery gunny is like, "Do the real of the gun fall in?" As a matter of fact, I don't even know. I don't remember if he even said that. It's like, "Get the fuck off the gun line." And then we're running for our fucking lives. And then I remember it was the XO, the CO, the first sergeant, the battery gunny, all had to push the fucking round out. Mm-hmm. That shit was scary as fuck. It was like 3:00 in the morning too.
I also have a funny story. Well, not really funny, but you know, being 18 years old in a foreign country, I carried the 249 too. So I carried kind of like, I was,
You were the saw, right? You
yeah.
were carrying the saw.
Yeah. You know,
Okay.
of course, give it to the small guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, I felt like I was, you know, like I was on top of the world, you know, and then we shared the fob with some special forces guys. And I don't, you know, like when those guys roll out in their little Toyota trucks and the beard and the, you know, short or the jeans and the flak, and they're like, "What's up, brother?" You know, like and they go off on the.
Were they Marines or were they like
they're Army?
Army. Okay, got you.
They, you know, I was ECP sometimes, which, well, I give the saw guy the ECP, but whatever. I'm towing that thing around, and I remember one day, you know, like I was on ECP a lot because I'm a talkative guy, so my squaller's like, hell, send him.
Yeah.
And I gotten really cool with them, so like we would have this thing where like they would throw up 4 and like 10, so I'd be like, okay, 4 Vicks, 10 packs before they get to the gate, so I can get them out there because I know they got to do their mission.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten really close with them, kind of like in a small little interaction. I remember one day they pulled up and they're like, "You hungry?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they handed me a Rip It, and they were like, a lamb sandwich from a village we just got back from. I was like, these guys are awesome.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, you know, it's,
Yo, those lamb things, they're fucking good as fuck too. And the lamb shawarmas,
yeah.
boy,
and
that
it made
shit
me
is
realize
different.
there's always a bigger fit. You know what I mean? Like I thought I was on top of the world, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
these guys, you know, going back and forth on the fob all the time. But I mean, it was awesome experience. And then, you know, just working with, you know, so many different people on that deployment. We worked with the Army, multiple people, you know, different jobs in the Army. It's funny though, because we had combat camera with us. I can't remember if he was Army or Marines, but I remember he wanted to come and patrol with us one day, and he was like, "Hey guys, can I come?" And we're like, "Sure, man. Just make sure your conditions, like your weapon's condition 4." And he goes, "What's that again?" And we were like,
Oh my god.
we're like, "Dog, just get off the Vic. You
yeah,
ain't
you
coming."
ain't coming. Yeah, that's a liability right there.
Yeah,
Okay, so you did go out and you did patrols.
yeah,
So it's just you were fortunate enough to not see any type of contact
yeah.
because you were doing the things that you were supposed to be doing.
Well, you know, we at one point ISIS, they had a ceasefire, but we didn't know about it. So I was on watch one day, and I saw like this one truck coming up, and I'm like, oh, whatever. You know, like this is miles away, probably like 2-3 miles away, and all of a sudden I saw another one, and all of a sudden I saw the black flag, the ISIS flag, and I was shitting myself. Like I was like, oh my god, like are they coming at
They're
us?
coming, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, I was on the mic, you know, Mike 0, we have like an enemy convoy, you know, coming XYZ directions, and they're like mark and bypass, and I'm like, but like for a short minute I was like, this is it. You know what I
Do you
mean?
went
Like,
condition 1?
no, they weren't
When you
close enough.
when you were in the
We
ECP?
were ready, though.
Yeah, when you were in the ECP, do you have to be condition 1?
You
You know what? Don't answer that. Don't answer that.
No,
Don't
I was
answer
a
that.
saw.
Yeah, don't answer that because
Okay.
I don't want this to be taken. You know, this is gonna be
Yeah.
out in the internet, and I don't want to put out there what. Because think about it. You know,
Yeah.
now I ask you, you answer, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh, these motherfuckers are not condition 1.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we can roll right through them. I don't want that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I want to share their reality, but I also don't want to be.
Yeah.
I also don't want to put anybody in harm's way. Right.
Yeah.
So you came back from that deployment.
Yeah, and it was awesome because
Okay.
we were a company level deployment. The whole battalion deployed at that point. So we were a company level asset for 7 months. What do you think we did in that 7 months?
Ain't we'll fucking do shit.
We PT'd at like 7 o'clock, and we were off by 11 for like 6-7 months straight.
Wow.
That was peak. You know what I mean?
What about duty though? You probably had duty a lot.
We kept duty at the company level because the battalion left a stay behind unit. And
RBE.
Yeah, RBE. Yeah, so we were just at the company level. I mean, we were, which it was good and bad because we weren't owning our craft as much as we should, obviously. But like as far as, you know, coming back, man, and we were, as far as I know, we were the last scheduled combat deployment unit on the East Coast.
Wow.
So we were like big dogs on campus. I remember
Yeah.
one day, because 6th Reg was next to our barracks, the actual regimental headquarters. Me and my buddy, you know, we're drinking coffee in our Lance Corporal mugs. I had Crocs on with my cami bottoms, unregulated hoodie, unregulated beanie, drinking my coffee. And I remember this lieutenant colonel walked by, right? Me and my buddy, and he was like, "Hey, Marines," and we were like, "Oh my God, we're screwed." And he goes, "Y'all are 1-6 Charlie, right?" "Yeah, yes, sir." "That's some good fucking shit what y'all did out there. You really represent the fucking regiment." And he just walked away. I felt like I was a god. I really did. All of us did. Because I mean, like, that was like, oh my God, like there, and then all our seniors who were combat veterans got out. So we were, as far as Camp Lejeune, was, concerned, besides artillery, as far as infantry goes, we were the only guys with a combat deployment. We were the only guys with like an OIR ribbon. So
Wow.
man, we felt like we were the shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a good feeling. Like we really, that was an awesome year. You know what I mean? Going to
Yeah.
really, go on a special purpose MACTAV, and they get like 8 months of just doing nothing.
So, and then did you get any new Marines during that time?
From like security forces.
Oh,
But like
okay,
once
okay,
the
okay.
battalion got back, that's when we got our drop.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, got you. And then obviously you did that for 6 or 7 months, but you had another deployment.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about
Yeah,
that
so the
deployment?
UDP, it was actually during COVID. So I literally, like, our first 3 weeks in the deployment was when COVID hit, and that made that deployment really awesome. Because we were supposed to, I mean, like, it would have been cool because we were supposed to go to Philippines, we were supposed to go to Japan, or mainland Japan, and go to Mount Fuji and Korea and do all these cool training exercises for sure. But I don't know if you've ever been to Camp Schwab.
I have
but
been in Camp
It's
Shaw.
not great. However,
It's very beautiful though.
it is it's very beautiful.
There ain't shit to do around there.
No.
You're far away from civilization.
For 6 months,
Yeah.
or like really for the better half of 4 months, I woke up. You can only do fire team PT. So we did fire team PT, which was normally a run. We went and got breakfast. We went to the gym. We went to the beach afterwards. And then we played Call of Duty and drank all night and then repeat. That was us for like 5 months
In Schwab.
in Schwab. We only did 2 field ops, I believe, 2, 3 at the very end whenever the regulations got a little bit relaxed.
Yeah.
But it was awesome.
Okay. So that was it for that deployment?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, yeah. I mean, like in the rear view mirror, it would have been cool to do more, but we were unfortunately there during COVID.
Yeah.
So like,
And you were a corporal with how many ribbons for that deployment? Because obviously you did Syria. So you had to had at least 6.
6, 7, something like that.
So you probably had more ribbons than a lot of the corporals, that were in your battalion, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because I went to Alpha Company at one point, and when you go to another company, I don't know if, I mean, it's different, I guess, when you PCS. When you go to another company, no one knows who you are. And for me, when I had my surgery, that's why I got moved over, because I was going to be put in the armory and this, that, and the other. And when you have an injury, you're kind of viewed as a shitbag.
Yeah.
And so it was funny because we did our Alphas inspections, and all the guys in Alpha Company were like 2, 3 ribbons, and I come with this thick ribbon stack, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, who are you?" And
Yeah.
It's funny how that demeanor changes whenever they were like, because I don't tell people, I'm like, I went to Syria, because
Yeah.
I like to be very humble, because I didn't see combat. I'm not trying, my first sergeant was a combat veteran. How would that look if I'm over here, doing whatever? So I keep to myself with it.
Yeah.
But it was funny whenever we put our Alphas on and I showed my stack, and it kind of changed a few people's perception of me a little bit.
Got you. Now, let me ask you this, because you said, and this is a very good topic of conversation. You specifically said that Marines that are injured are looked at as shitbags. Is that a fact?
For the most part, it very well depends, and I want to tell you why. So here's what I did. My squad leader, Sergeant G, shout out. He was a real G. I told him, I said, "Hey dude, I'm light duty, but I'm not gonna be that light duty guy that shows up and I just go home. I'm not gonna be that light duty guy who just shows up and sits in the barracks." I was like, "I'm gonna help you train," because there was another MSG guy coming in, and I was essentially his mentor. And man, I mean, like, we were tied to the hip, and he told me, and he, some months later, he told me, he was like, "Dude, people told me you were a shitbag." And he was like, "I don't know why people say that." And I'm like, "Well, dude, when you have surgery and it's hard to, because I had rib surgery, so I had cartilage and bone taken out. So it's a hard surgery to come from." And
Was it service related?
I have deformed ribs. So like the normal rib cage kind of goes in an oval. Mine kind of do like a wavelength. And after so many years of wearing a pack and a flak, had to get surgery on it. And so, but I told him, I said, "Listen, dude, I might be light duty, but I'm not going to stop help training. I'll go stand over there and I'll tell you what looks good. I'll go teach classes. I'll do all of this."
Then why people were saying that you were a shitbag?
Well, because, if you were as a gunny or even as a corporal and you get a new guy and you immediately find out he's light duty, what's your first impression of him? If you weren't a good guy.
Well, you gotta be very specific as a gunny or as a corporal, because as a corporal, I would have thought this motherfucker's a shitbag.
Yeah.
But as a gunny, I would definitely be asking different questions.
Okay, but so as a corporal, you know what I mean? Like you hear this, and you know how the unit works. You hear something about a new guy, word spreads.
Yeah.
And so the first thing they've heard was this guy's light duty, and he's not looking like he's going to recover anytime soon. What does that make you? You know what I mean?
Okay,
And it is what it is. And I
Were
took
you treated differently?
no, I was never treated to an extent to where I felt like I was being singled out because of an injury. My company did a very good job meeting me halfway.
Okay.
They did, and at the time, I wish they gave me a little bit more leadway. But I mean, my LT, gave it to me straight up. He was like, "Hey, dude, we're trying to help you, but needs of the Marine Corps," and I respected him for that because they didn't try and dodge me. They didn't try and do some slight paperwork. They came, they said, "Hey," because like I wanted to get physical therapy, and we had to go to 29 Palms, and they're like, "Listen, we can't give you the therapy." They're like, "We can try and give it to you when you get back. We need a guy who's going to watch the tents when we go train. You're going to go be tent watch. We're going to give you like the other, guys who aren't necessarily broken to the point where they can't go, but they can't go train." He goes, "You're going to take these 4 or 5 guys and you're just going to be on camp watch." I respected that. I really did. And because that's a lot of people like to avoid those kind of conversations. Even I'm sure as a gunny first sergeant, staff sergeant, that's a hard thing to tell someone.
Yeah, that is. But the reason this is gonna answer one of my questions regarding that, right? Mm-hmm. At that point, did you already told them that you were getting out of the Marine Corps?
I mean, yeah, they knew because they asked me if I wanted to go the medical retirement route, and I told them I wanted to avoid that because that can take way longer. I said honestly, it would just be quicker if we try to work something out, and that's what we did.
Okay, so at this point, your career sounds like it was good. Like you enjoy your time. Obviously, you had that medical hiccup, but
I had one moment where I thought I was going to get court-martialed.
Oh, let's talk about that then.
So I was in the armory, and I was transitioning into to be the head armory custodian, and we had this fast deployment thing to Haiti because there was a natural disaster, and we were going to be the humanitarian thing, but my company was going to be last, and so all the whole battalion was in the armory withdrawing, whatever. They did the 72 hour stand down, and then I went back, and I was doing my site counts for the first time, right? Like they were like, "This is your full responsibility," and I remember a PEC 15. There's 13, and I counted 12. I was new, and I was like, well, I just typed in. I was like 2 and 3 in the morning, whenever I had to get there because we were doing draw. I was like, can't believe I put that in wrong. It was a stupid decision. I should have reported it, but like at 3 a.m. when you have a whole company outside, why did I put 13, 12? And because it's always, you know what I mean? Like I don't remember everything. And that was a bad decision on me. And I own up to it. But my sergeant major had other thoughts, and he thought I stole it. And I mean, it was a scary time because.
How long did this last?
What do you mean?
Like this, from the moment that you fucked it up to the moment that they try to court-martial you?
About a month or two. And
you got your rights read and everything?
Yeah, I had a lawyer. I kind of felt jaded a little bit from it because my sergeant major pulled me to his office, and he was like, "Explain yourself." And I told him, I said, "Sergeant Major, I think someone stole it," because I was like, I was the only company not there when everyone was there. And a lot of those people in this armory, they get out just as much. They knew I was new. They probably knew I would have done that, and they took it. And that's on me. But what?
So was it really missing though,
or stolen? You know what I mean? Saying I think.
Yeah. So was it really missing or stolen?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Okay, so it was supposed to be 13.
Yes.
But you counted the correct amount, which was 12.
Yes. Everything else was the same, and like I said, I made a very bad.
But you put
decision.
13.
Well, I corrected it to 12 because it was supposed to be 13.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you initially put 13.
Yep.
But then you corrected it to 12.
Yep. And until a CMR came up a month later, that's when I got found out. And so.
Oh, that's why it was such a big deal. Because if you would have raised the flag right then and there, it wouldn't have been on you. Yeah. That's why it was such a big deal. Because if you would have been doing the side counts, like, wait, hold on a second, there's one missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But obviously, I didn't think anything of it. It was like, oh, 12. And then it was 12, 12, 12, 12. And then finally, but my sergeant major, he was a new sergeant major of the battalion at the time, and he came in and I told him, I said, Sergeant Major, I made a bad mistake. I corrected it.
Probably chew your ass. He
He
probably fucking blasted the fuck out of you.
he did, and it kind of made me mad because I knew it was one of those times where you knew the decision was made
Yeah.
before, because me and the other guy in the armory, we went and get questioned,
Yeah.
and you know,
Was the investigation ongoing
what do
that you know of
what do you mean, like,
when he blasted you?
oh yeah, it was still going, and so
That's illegal as fuck. Just so
Oh.
you know. Just so you know, that's illegal as fuck. Because if there's an active investigation, the sergeant major cannot go in there. And
we didn't go in the
and
armory. I went to
blast
his
you.
office.
No, that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
okay, yeah,
Regardless of what the conversation happened,
Yeah.
that's like I guess you can call it like tainting a witness.
Yeah.
Because that can be looked at as intimidation for you to freaking admit something.
Oh, I did, because I originally said it was stolen, or you know, but you know, it is what it is.
What unit was this?
Huh?
What unit was this?
I have an idea on who it was.
No. What unit were you in?
Oh, 1-6.
1-6. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it? What was the unit that
3-6.
missed the 2 rifles?
And then they lost a pistol.
so
years later.
was he the same sergeant major that was in charge of that?
No. It's a different guy.
Different guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so-
Like, what's wrong with Kamala June missing shit?
Yeah.
Listen. Listen.
But he told me, and I said, Sergeant Major, I made a mistake. I think it was stolen. It was early in the morning. I was completely honest. I was like, it was early in the morning. I corrected the sheet instead of putting 2 and 2 together. I was new in the armory. It was just a bad boot, dumb decision. And I told him that. And he goes, I think you're lying. I think you stole it, and I'm going to court-martial you. And that blew my mind, because to me, I kind of felt disrespected in a way, because I spent almost 6 years.
I
of
wish
my
Barry
life-
was here doing this conversation, because Barry will bring in some great insight to this.
I really wish he let, and you know, hindsight's 2020. I wanted to tell him, be like, look, I spent almost 6 years in this battalion, 2 deployments with this battalion. I have nothing but good pros and cons and JPEs. I have represented this unit well. I've been completely honest with you. I've told you what happened, and you're going to call me a liar and think I stole it. This PEC 15 was probably like $1,200-$1,300. I make way more than that on a paycheck because I was married. Why would I steal? Why would I steal from my own armory? You know what I mean? And it kind of made me upset. And I don't like talking bad about the Marine Corps, and I don't like talking bad about leadership. But it was at that moment he didn't even like. I'm curious on, did he even go and check, like, hey, how is this Marine? Like, is this something he would steal? Is this something like what's going on? But in his mind, it was, it's missing. I'm blaming him, and I'm gonna burn him. And they ended up not burning. I don't know. My XO said, hey, I got you. And
Yeah, because there's an investigating officer that gets appointed. You know, and it's not the jobs of the sergeant major to go in there and question you. That's why they appoint a neutral investigating officer to investigate the facts of the matter. And if the PI comes out as in like, oh man, we have reason to believe that this Marine actually stole the PEC 15, then it becomes a criminal investigation, which is a CI. And then now it gets brought up to the proper authorities, whether it'll be NCIS or whether it'll be within your command. If somebody else, you know, if you would have really stole it and somebody else ratted you out, then it would have stayed within the command, you know. But yeah, missing shit from the armory is a huge fucking deal.
it is. And that's why, like I said, I took everything on the chin. I didn't take no heavy, I don't think I got 6105. I think it was just more of like a whatever.
Like a verbal ass chewing.
Yeah. And, but the whole situation, like I take all of it. Like it was my fault. I should not have let that happen, or I should have reported. I should have been the smart one. But it was the fact that he didn't know who I was. He didn't take the and this is why when I talk about poor leadership and understanding your Marines, this is what I'm talking about, because it very clearly could have been a different path where he's like, listen, I want to believe you. Let's let the investigation do its job. You know what I mean? And it's that simple. Instead of you trying to just get all twisted over which way, you're a new sergeant major. And look, obviously you made it this far. I'm sure you did tons of great things, but I highly disagree with anyone who just their first reaction is to blast the Marine instead of figuring out who you are
and try to burn them.
Yeah.
So was it this decision that made you want to get out?
No, it was honestly my surgery on my ribs. It
Okay.
was to the point to where if I re-enlisted, I would be hindering the Marine Corps. And you know what?
But what about land moving into something that didn't require you to be in the field 24/7?
I mean, yes, sure, but I mean, I would still have to run PFT. I mean, you know, my ribs go inward, so like my lung. That's how I. The issue was is they had to shave the part that was hitting my lungs because my lungs would expand and then it would go against the cartilage in the bone, and so instead of me like trying to squeeze in another 8 and then like maybe getting 2 years in and I'm like, oh wow, I'm really not it. And then I'm,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to be someone's problem child for 2 years as a sergeant and a staff sergeant.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, I'm sure, you know, you know,
You're not the worst case I've heard. I promise you, you're not the worst case I've heard.
but I didn't want to be someone else's problem. And I
Yeah.
felt bad enough that, you know, my company was doing a really good job of meeting me halfway, but I was like, you know, it's time to hang up the cleats. I had a good career. I did a combat deployment, didn't see combat, but I did Bridgeport, ITX, which both suck, but you know what? With me and my best friends, that's the best memories we have. We got drunk in Japan a lot. We went to Europe for a DFT. So we went to Latvia, Lithuania, did a lot of cool training with a lot of foreign militaries there. And just the leadership that I learned in that 6 years, because I was a very young senior, lance, corporal, whatever, and having those guys under you, especially because I do believe leadership in the infantry is different from leadership in a lot of MOSs. Maybe not all of them, but like, what does it mean to be a leader in admin? You know what I mean? Like, hey guys, you showed up, cool, do your job, go home. PFT's in like 5 months. In the infantry, their life is in your hands, and for me to experience that, that's all I could ask for was that experience. And so the Marine Corps did a lot of good things for me, not 100%, but no jobs like that.
Yeah.
And I said, I think it's time for me to get out and go to college or try and, you know, be successful somewhere else.
Got you. So you decide, how was that transition for you once you did that? Yeah, once you decided to make that, you know, that determination of getting out of the Marine Corps, how was that transition for you? Of, you know, going from a hardcore infantry guy to, man, I need to start winding down because I'm about to be a civilian again.
Well, you know, I didn't have struggles transitioning to the civilian life because I got out, had my wedding with my wife because we got married in downtown, but we didn't have the actual wedding.
Downtown San Diego?
No, Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, gotcha.
Yeah. So if you know the backdrop with the beach, you know.
Okay.
So I went here and my wife, she's on a ship in her boat, one of her friends on her boat. His wife worked at Miramar in SIF and she got me a job there. So I was kind of like, it was kind of a cool transition because I'm like, I'm kind of with Marines, but I'm a civilian. And it's
Gotcha.
funny because I would walk around, you know, with my hoodie on, so I didn't have my company shirt, and Marines would give me a look because I had like slightly out of regs, like it looks like I went 2 weeks without it.
Yeah.
And every now and again, I could see one really staring at me, like, do I say
Do
something?
I say something?
Yeah.
Hey, Marine.
Yeah. Hey, what's your unit? Does your unit know you talk to civilians this way? You know, just.
yeah.
But no, it was really easy, and I got to talk to Marines still. I got to, you know, they PT'd next to our warehouse. When I go and break, I watch them get slayed. So it was kind of like an easy transition. And then I went to college, and that was tough because kids are disrespectful. There's kids who, like, I went from an 18-year-old being my responsibility to that's my peer now. I'm 26, and this 18-year-old and I are on the same level. And there's times where like they're disrespectful to the professor and I want to rim their fucking ass up. And I'm like, why the fuck are you talking to this guy? He's taking time out of his day to get you an education. I don't care if it's finger painting class or history. You're paying money to be here and you have the audacity to disrespect this professor. But obviously that's not my place.
Yeah.
You know?
In the word of every 18-year-old right now, type shit.
Yeah, on God.
Oh God. Okay, so you're going to college now. How far along are you from getting your college degree? And let me ask you this though: do you feel that you could have gotten started? Looking back at it, obviously, do you feel that you could have gotten started getting that education while you were in the infantry?
Absolutely. I'm going to be starting my sophomore year here in San Diego at Southwestern Community. I love it. It's a small community. I went to San Diego State and I was blown away with how huge it was. Thousands of people there. I like my community college. A lot of people don't. As far as a 2-year degree goes, it's an awesome small college. There's a lot of veterans in that college too. I made a lot of good veteran friends there. But my wife gets on to me a lot. She was like, why did you never do what's the dual education, or what were you getting your education in the Marine Corps and active duty? What's it called again?
Tuition assistance.
Tuition assistance. And I told her, I said, that wasn't my concern. I joined the infantry to go and shoot bad guys in the face and to have this experience that I cannot have in any other sense of job. Education was not a concern because people always talk about, they're like, why'd you join the infantry? You have no transferable skills unless you want to be a cop. I don't care. I wanted to go, I didn't want to join and be admin. I could go be admin somewhere else. I don't want to join and be, MP. I can go be a police officer. I wanted to join and say I had this experience that I would not have gotten unless I did there. And all those partings I did, all the times I played video games and got drunk with my friends, I would not change that for a college credit. There's no college credit in the world, looking back, that's replaceable for those memories.
I disagree with that, but I respect that as well.
Yeah, no,
because
for sure.
because if you are clear and you stand on business on that, hey, I don't knock you over. I don't knock you for it. I feel that you could have gotten a head start by doing at least 1 or 2 classes while you were in. That way, you got there a little bit faster. What are you going to college for?
Business administration.
Okay, and what are you hoping to do with that business administration?
I would like to be part of a it's going to be changing into marketing. So once I go get that's my minor because I'm going for my associates. Once I major, it's going to be marketing, and I want to be in a marketing team.
Okay, got you.
But no, you're right. It's definitely something I should have done. Tuition assistance while I was in the Marine Corps. I wasn't mature enough in the sense of education. I was just too focused.
Yeah, you were
focused.
but I respect it because you're conscient about it.
Yeah.
You didn't give me the fucking answer that most people, you can't go to school in the infantry. No.
I know people who did. And I knew people who had associates by the time they finished their 4-year. I shouldn't say there's a few amount of people that I know that did it, but that just wasn't me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay. Like, that's not a bad answer. But don't lie to yourself saying you cannot go to college when you're in the infantry.
It's the same
because
thing.
you don't have time. Yeah. That's an excuse.
It is an excuse. You have plenty of time.
You have your priority was to make memories.
Yeah.
That's okay. You didn't lie to yourself. There's a lot of people, oh no, it's like whenever you're freaking playing Call of Duty, no, your priorities need to be straight up. And that's what I'm saying. It's not bad that your priorities are playing Call of Duty and getting drunk, as long as those are not like your long-term priorities, but they weren't for you. Yeah. But if your long-term priorities is like, well, I just want to get drunk and play Call of Duty because I'm going to do 20 years in the Marine Corps, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. The reason for it is because whether you do 4, 6, or 20, even 30, guess what? The Marine Corps is only going to be temporary in your life.
Exactly. It's kind of like when people say like, oh, I would have joined. But I knew one person and I forgot where I met him, but I was like, yeah, man, I was in. He was like, yeah, man, fuck that. I didn't want to do it. I respected that. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. It's
exactly
honesty. You just got to know. It's not for everyone. And, whenever I'm in my classes, my people know I'm a veteran, and people are always like, oh, dude, you're a hero, this, that, and I tell them. And I do not, there are a lot of people who've done a lot of heroic stuff in the Marine Corps, in the military in general. I'm not one of those people. To me, I view myself as the same as a McDonald's cashier, as a cop, as a tire guy at Jiffy Lube. I just did a job. Yeah. And I try and tell my classmates that because my classmates, they're 18, they're full. Yeah. They don't know if they want to do college. They ask me all the time about the Marine Corps. And that's another reason I wanted to come on the podcast, because they're like, well, what's the infantry like? What's the Marine Corps like? And I tell them, and they're like, wow, like, that's such crazy. I was like, but you don't look at it as you're trying to be a hero. You're doing a job for your country. Yeah, but it's no different,
Last question, so that way we can wrap up.
Okay.
We've been talking about obviously your career, your deployments, your life in the military. Very important year this year. We have election year this year. I'm about to go down to Oceanside and I'm going to do a video, but I want to ask you firsthand.
Okay.
Who do you think is better for the military? Kamala Harris or President Trump?
I will say this about Trump. When we were still rocking some really shitty 249s, some really shitty M4s. When Trump was in office in 2016, so like right when I joined, I remember going to the unit and he increased the budget, and all of a sudden we had new M27s, we had new parts, we had like, it just, you could see the logistical budget being broadened. And I'm not deep enough into politics as far as like individual policies, but strictly for the military, I do know there was definitely a difference when Trump was president and then when Biden was president when I was in. And I feel like Trump really does have that aggressive nature towards other foreign militaries to where they don't want to get involved with us. And I know there's a lot of young 18, 19, 20-year-olds who want to enlist into the military and shoot people. But I'm telling you now, combat with Russia and China and Korea, it's not the same as the Taliban. You're not shooting at guys with flip-flops anymore and an AK from the 70s. You're shooting against guys with our technology. Whether it's as good, you could still get hit by a HIMAR or whatever their equivalent is. And I think Trump does a better job at having I think he has a better foreign policy than Kamala.
So to lock in your answer, President Trump.
Yes.
Okay. Now, last question of the podcast. How do you feel about us being able to use drones to blow people up and to take delivery bombs to the enemy? But Amazon still hasn't developed the technology to give me my fucking package on time. Go.
Yeah. There we go. We need to hire a bunch of Ukrainians, get them over here after fund them that way. No, it's crazy because there's a big argument on, is it morally justifiable? And, you see a lot of guys, Twitter's crazy now, or X, because you get the live footage. There's no censorship.
Yeah.
And, you see a lot of guys surrendering or no weapons, and it causes this big gray area of like what is considered a combatant. And, that's a gray area that I don't think I'm well informed enough or, I've seen enough. But I do think it's crazy, and it definitely changes the reality of combat. I mean, think about when, guided missiles were first introduced. I mean, that itself is crazy. Now you can get even more guided. You have this 18-year-old who's using the same bomb drone on Modern Warfare flying around, or like the guys in New Mexico, Arizona, wherever is doing the drones. Yeah. It's, you're really taking people out of the battlefield and putting this technology there. It's good because we don't have our guys out there actually doing the fighting. But I mean, from a moral standpoint, it is definitely 50-50.
Got you.
And before we ended, I did want to have one more shout out, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go for
it. For any veteran out there who gets out and maybe you don't think you have a transferable skill, like, if you don't want to be a cop in the infantry, I have a good friend, Liam, who has a thing called Fire for Veterans. It's a community where they try and help guys get into the firefighting industry and EMS. I know they work really hard to help guys who, especially now in peacetime, because you get out and you feel like you wasted your time and you miss that camaraderie, but you don't want to go to a white collar job. This guy right here, I'll pen maybe his Instagram or the page, and you can get in touch with him. But if you really want to get into a community that is like the military, but you're in the civilian world, he highly recommends firefighting. I thought about it for a while and then I decided to go to college, but it's a real good community for anyone who is out there and they want to do something with their lives that's not necessarily military, but it's also not this boring civilian life.
Awesome. Brother, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming over here and having this amazing conversation. A lot of people always say that grunts, all they do is eat crayons and shoot bad guys. But hey, I want to say you have more than 2 brain cells up there, man. You're very well spoken. You have your thoughts very well formed. So I definitely appreciate you coming over here to the podcast. Yes, yeah. Well, you definitely bit it. I know because I've met smart grunts before, but then now it's out to the world to see that there are very smart individuals. Yes, 100%, man. So thank you so much, guys. Make sure that you guys keep tuning in to the A to B podcast. Make sure that you guys like, follow, share, and subscribe. Comment as well. Let us know what you guys are watching us. Make sure that you guys follow Barry, myself, my production manager, Jose, which gets a shout out today, and Brandon as well. Guys, I will see you guys in the next one.